Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first another official episode of the Off the Top podcast after another hiatus nowadays. We're actually trying something different. It's going to be more of an intimate personal interview. Um in the chat right now, or at least in the call, it's actually a good friend of mine, former boss at, can we even say the company now?
Probably can.
Probably can. I mean, I'd say it's been long enough since we work there now.
I would say so. I don't think there would be an issue.
Okay. Um, he's my former boss from Finish Line, the good old retail days when I had rose tinted glasses and then learned the realities that is retail. Good friend of mine, Mr. Albert. How are you, sir?
Good man. How are you doing?
I am very tired, but I will make it through. I have a dog just leaning against himself.
And
but
I am in the car waiting to get some coffee.
meanwhile, meanwhile I got mine. But aside
What's
from,
up, man? How are you?
I mean, adjusting to South Dakota life, just the snow, at least during the
Yeah.
winter, it's very different from California heat. It really makes your day.
Oh, I bet,
Like,
dude. Like, yeah, right here it's like 63 degrees. I'm like, okay, it's kind of cold, but I can only imagine you in the winters.
it's like, yeah, it's I'm gonna take a look right now. It is 39, but it feels like 45
I'm
because
good.
the sun is out.
I'm good. You said 39. I'm good.
Just be thankful you didn't you have yet to experience the negative temperatures, because yeah,
Yeah,
it's painful. Like, negative temperatures start feel painful when you stand outside for even a little bit.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I
it's
truly believe that, which is why I love California.
yep. I would definitely say that's a lot better that way. But aside from the comparing weather, like, I even tell my friends that all the time. It's like, dude, you guys are lucky that you are not experiencing the snow, because you would have to wake up early too. Like, because for me, I was actually working the morning shift. Yes, I know, crazy, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we would have to wake up early in the morning, help my dad shovel the driveway, and even like the property line on the sidewalk of snow, just
Well,
because it.
that's already an adjustment. The fact that you have to wake up to shovel snow out of the way.
Yep, it's it's very different, man. It is very, very different. But it's like I said, at least you get your workout out of it, or at least like the blood boiling. That's the
Yeah, dude.
it's
Snow's not light.
Yeah, that's what it's like. And then it sucks when it like takes forever to like melt too, because there would be days that it's just nothing but snow. It's either snow or just
Yeah.
cold. And
Too bad you're not like in school where you can experience a snow day and just like, all right, no school.
yeah, that sucks, but you know what? It just is what it is. Especially just going to school in California.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
like I can only imagine like how California would have just reacted to snow in general. If I thought people in rain reacted terribly, now imagine snow. Like, all the
Oh
driving
yeah, dude.
laws out the
It would
fucking
be
window.
like it would be the it would be the apocalypse. People already here in California once rain hits, it's like they forget how to drive. It's not
Exactly.
even a joke.
Like, I would look at What's Up SCV, and I kid you not, like the second I hear that it's raining, I think I expect, like, every time I swipe, crash, crash, another crash, or like a hold up. Like, I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah,
all
and I
I
don't
hear.
understand. Like, I just don't get it either. I don't understand how it can't even if it's raining hard. I get it, But sometimes it was like last week it was like misting and people were already frantic, and I'm just like, what is wrong with people right now?
Yeah. And like one of my friends that I play games with a lot, and when he used to work at my at my job down there, at least the last job I had before I left, he goes from North Hollywood all the way down to Santa Clarita. And I was like, I can only imagine what he's like, what that's like. He says it's fine, but I'm just like, okay.
From
Yeah,
North Hollywood to Korea, that's a commitment,
that
or waiting
is.
to transfer. I don't know. That's pretty
Well,
big.
at the time,
That's
that's when he.
worse than your. That was worse than your drive from Granada Hills to Valencia.
Mm-hmm. I would say that's worse than Granada Hills to Burbank. I would say it's worse than that. Because, I mean, it's fucking North Hollywood, dude. And going from there all the way to Valencia, that's just pure insanity. Think you muted yourself, dude. Or your phone just unplugged. Okay. I could probably cut this part in post. Okay.
Yo,
Okay. Yeah, you just got muted
I was
for a quick sec.
not gonna. I was ordering my coffee. I don't want you to hear my coffee order.
Oh, okay. We had to keep it secret. That's right. That's right.
That's right. I get the. It's a long list of ingredients in there. Top
Oh,
secret.
typical. Oh, is it at Starbucks? Because that'll say it all right there.
Oh, 100%.
You know what's funny too is that I don't see as many Starbucks, at least out here, compared to California. Because if
Everywhere.
like I think
Well,
there's
yeah.
at least one standalone as far as I'm aware, maybe two, and then my work, which I mean
Okay.
which if
Okay.
people follow my IG, they know where I work at this point. Like I've mentioned
Yeah.
it. I've mentioned it a couple times here and there.
Well, out there, do you guys have a Carl's Jr. or is it like Hardee's or
It's
something?
Hardee's over here. It's already down the street
Nice.
from me too. Still
That's
the same as
dangerous.
ever. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got.
That's a dangerous game.
Oh, I have the dangerous game where I live. Hold on, dog wants to get out. Give me a sec. Okay, he all right. More things to cut in post. But we have a
Or leave it.
dude. We got a dangerous assortment of food out here because even though it's mostly American, there is still like a couple places that are international. Like there is actually a pretty good Mexican joint. A lot of Chinese food joints here too. Like you
I
wouldn't
mean, that's not
think.
bad. That sounds like a win to me.
Yeah, that's and
Oh, given where you're at.
yeah, and considering the fact that they're kind of like right next to each other for the most part. Because like literally on my way down, I could probably count 10 restaurants in total.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot. Like literally if I go down, there's at least an IHOP, which sucks ass because when we went there, no service whatsoever, so we just dipped. Um,
It is also
we
IHOP.
yeah. Um, but then we went to Applebee's. Then there's the Chili's. There's Hardee's that I mentioned, and then they have like I guess their version of a Taco Bell, which is Taco John's. I have I've yet to try that, but supposedly their breakfast stuff is pretty good. One day I'll try it. And then once you go to around my work, there's like one, two, three, four. There's about like There's like four restaurants you go to and a Culver's. Like
A what?
Culver's. It's like a fast food. I guess it's like a fast food chain that's more like Midwest, East Coast side. Like I only had that once and it's
All
pretty
right.
good.
I have to ask then. I've never heard that in my life. If you were to compare it to a fast food joint out here, what would it be?
Hmm. I mean, I've only had Culver's once because I just had a fish and chips, but supposedly their burgers are pretty good. So I will definitely get back to that response. But
Okay.
I have yet to find something that is comparable to like an In and Out of sorts.
Oh, you
Yeah.
won't.
No, that's the thing. You won't.
No,
Mm-mm. That's never
I'm
gonna happen.
gonna send over a care package in a freezer. I'm gonna send you a double double.
Send me send me a couple double doubles and with animal style
Honestly,
fries and spread. That's all I need.
well, I didn't know. Crazy part is we're going off on a tangent, but then again, that's also kind of like your podcast too.
In general.
Tony that used to work at I don't know if you remember Tony from the dock at Macy's.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Chicago, and when he would go to Chicago, he would actually send himself like he'll mail it home. They'll put like Chicago pizza in a cooler and he'll send it over. I didn't know that was a thing.
That's actually kind of smart. Chicago style
It
pizza in the.
is, but they would like deliver it. The company itself, the pizza company that he would go to, like, oh yeah, you want to deliver to a different state? Cool. And I'm just like, dang, they're
I
up to
want.
something.
Maybe In and Out will have those services. I mean, they're starting to move more towards like Midwest too, because I think they have one in somewhere around here. I think Oklahoma. They opened a In and Out.
That's right. I remember that like a couple months ago they had.
They
It was like,
opened a
it
new
was like a
one.
big deal.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
opened a new one, and then the line was backed up for like 8 hours, which
Yeah,
sounds
that's
right.
not gonna happen. Yeah, because they've never had anything out there. But if you see, here's the thing, right? That's 8 hours over there because that's like the only one. You're telling me if California had an In-N-Out that's 8 hours, I'm good. I'll drive to the next one
Exactly. And I guess that's
and wait
like
less, hopefully.
it is a. I mean, it is a California based chain essentially, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more prominent out there versus like obviously the Midwest. Like people don't know what it's like in the Midwest. Like the closest thing you're gonna have, at least in terms of competition, is Whataburger that's down towards Texas.
But
And
can you imagine, like, the people in Oklahoma, if that's where it is? I don't know if that's factually correct. I think we're just going off the head as far as that goes. It might be Oklahoma or somewhere else around there.
it's like
But imagine they
somewhere
waited.
Midwest.
Imagine they waited like 8 hours, right? They get their burger, they bite it, they're like, like that would be crazy.
It would.
That would be great.
They would be. It's like it's like a certain YouTuber clip that we don't mention because of certain things that you can't say on
Yeah,
YouTube. Like
yeah,
it's all right. Overrated as fuck in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so there's let's just say that much. Like they would probably have that reaction. I wouldn't. It is not worth 8 hours for something like that. At that point, go somewhere else.
Well, I feel like in general, like if you're waiting 8 hours for food, like that's crazy. Then again, right? We're in a world where like people are like quote unquote foodies, or like obviously there are people that want to try new food and all this stuff, and I get that. But to wait 8 hours, like that's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's not for me.
Yeah,
But
I can't
hey,
do that.
some
I
people, yeah,
I can't do anything like that. If it's a restaurant and I gotta wait 8 hours, fuck you. No, that's a that's a
yeah,
flat.
right. We already get annoyed being like waiting at a restaurant, like, oh, it'll take like 30, 40 minutes, and we're just like, oh, all right, I guess so. Imagine 8 hours, dude. Like that's nuts.
8 hour and a reminder, 8 hours is a full shift.
I was gonna say that. I could have just taken a shit at that point.
Yep, exactly. And kind of a not so seamless transition, like in terms of working. I mean, I guess we should probably like acknowledge how we met. The company we have mentioned, or at least at the top of the show. Uh, we both
Yeah.
worked at Finish Line. you what took over the location that we worked at maybe a few months prior to me.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you like a timeline?
Yeah, let's go with the timeline, dude.
All right. So I actually got hired as a seasonal at Finish Line back in 2015, and wasn't expecting to be on there permanently just because it was seasonal. So I wasn't sure where that stood. But the crazy part is like I started in Sherman Oaks within the Macy's, and after that, it wasn't until a manager there at the time had told another associate there that I wasn't good at my job and that after the holidays I'd be out. So basically, that lit a fire under me, and my goal was to take her job. So yeah, I mean, right? So then what ended up happening actually was that manager ended up going to the Macy's location in Valencia, and as I was progressing within the company, she actually wanted me to be her assistant manager there,
Oh, that's
which was
funny.
kind of hilarious. But fast forward, like, um, had stayed at Valencia for like a month, 2 months, went back to my home store in Sherman Oaks, then actually transitioned to like the core store, is what we call it, where it's the standalone Finish Line store, and progressed as an assistant manager there. And I was in 2017. And yeah, officially Valencia became my home base as a store manager from 2018 to 2022.
Yep, that honestly sounds about right. I do remember you were telling me this your timeline of events of how you got to the point that you were at the time, and I
Oh,
guess
bro, that manager did not want me to work there anymore. She's like, you know what? He's not doing good. He's not pushing numbers. Well, let's get rid of him. I don't really like him. I'm like, okay. So a good thing that associate told me, because again, I that was my goal, right? Take her job. And yeah, man, I mean, since that I think I've hit like, whether it's making goals, bonuses, but I've also won like associate of the core, like two different quarters. I think it might have been different years, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, work ethic is key.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like in a way, that's kind of like if I can, I'll probably throw my timeline in where
For
this
sure.
goes to. So at least when I started working at a KFC. Worked there for about 3.5 years. I always say that realistically, the job should have been 2 years at most or at max even. But only reason I stayed there like longer was just because of the fact, well, somebody needs to make, you got to make money. Just got to suck up your pride, until you have a backup plan. That's what I tell everybody. Always have a backup plan before you leave one place, just because you never know. And I remember, uh, I didn't really get hit with like a lot of things at that place until like the latter half of my time there. Like maybe like literally 3 months before I left, or maybe even a month before I left. That's when like okay, things are gonna start changing. Like, cause I actually had like a sprained pinky right here. I got sunburned. Like everything happened, and then because they didn't want to adjust for my time, because I'm driving from Granada Hills all the way to Burbank in the morning. Now, ideally, that's a drive that should take no less than like 30 minutes, realistically. But LA morning traffic. That's all I could say. And because of all that, they said we're gonna send you home because you were late. Blah blah blah. And that pissed me off so much that I actually still have the story still on my Instagram page. It's just right there. And right there, I think that set it off. That just set off a lot of changes for me. I started looking for more and more jobs. Like it's funny, I was gonna apply to that core store, but it was before you ended up over there, dude. I think it was under a different manager or something like that. I forgot his name. I applied with him, and it just didn't work out. It just did not work out with him. And next thing you know, I ended up like I just kept applying, just anywhere really, like any different place, until eventually I got word from my sister. Macy's Macy's Finish Line had my had had an opening, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take the chance. I'm gonna apply, and then the rest is history from there.
I was saying like the crazy part of it was like I was able to pull your application on my side of the things for finish line. And yeah, man, when we had the interview, the crazy part about it is that this is like my pet peeve, right? So I've said this numerous times to you and in general, like the one thing I don't like is when if I were to do an interview for the company that we worked for, right? And the first thing they say or they want to share right off the top of the head is I'm a sneakerhead. I
Oh
love
God.
shoes. Like
Oh God. I
and
remember.
you can say that, right? That's totally fine. But there's more than just that as to what I was looking for in regarding like hiring people. You know what I mean? Like you can tell me you have the best sneakers in the world. Great. But can you work? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You telling me that you love sneakers, like it helps, yeah. But does it hold? Is that going to hold all the weight of you during the holidays? Is that going to be a like? Are you going to crack under pressure during Black Friday or whatever the case is? But like with you, I think with like when I interviewed you, I think the crazy part was it felt organic, like we were just homies already.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Like right off the bat, we already were like right there.
Yeah, because I feel like we were also kind of shooting this shit too. Like I was interviewing you, but it became a point where it became more conversational than
Mm-hmm.
an actual interview.
I mean, once the second interview came in, I think that felt more like an actual interview versus like compared to like the first one.
Yeah,
And that was already like the first thing that I always liked about having like certain managers. Like I put two people in terms of managers that like I've worked with that I can definitely work with in a different environment. Obviously, you're number one, and my previous manager at well, I'll just say at the company I currently work for, but when I worked in California, he's number two. And then like,
appreciate that, dude.
oh yeah, of course. Like I mean, a lot of things happen. Like I always say, like a lot of things that happen, good or bad, it needs to happen. Otherwise, we're in a, if we pull up, if I may make a referential MCU reference, we go into a different timeline, or hell, even Invincible, because that goes into timelines as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, man. I've always tried to make it a point where, um, I think the one thing that kind of stuck with me with my boss at that time, not the one before I left, was the one thing that he said. Two things that he actually said that resonated with me. Though, I would say his his ethos of things wasn't aligned with what I was looking for. He had said two things that resonated to where I implemented that, right. Like it's people work for people, and
mm-hmm.
that hit, and that still carries on with me.
Yeah.
And and then he also said, you can look at people and different managers and see the things that they do right, but you should also see the things that they do wrong, so you know not to do that.
Yeah, always
Right?
stick with.
You could see all the good in that and in all the managers and what they do, but if you see like if you pick and choose what their like their traits are and their what they do right and wrong, then you can become this like powerhouse. And I think any manager that I've came across whether I was an assistant manager, team lead, um, at the time, whatever the case may be, anytime I've always talked to a manager, and I've always took certain pieces of what not to do and what to do to basically be a better manager. And
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm probably going to send him the link because I think he deserves his flowers for this. Zabi Dean was my manager at Finish Line Core from 2017 to 2018, and he was by far the best manager I've ever had. Um, I feel like I based my foundation in that sense from Zabi. Uh, his willingness to always help when he can, understand, have empathy, be a manager and, put your foot down, but at the same time, be a human being. And I think sometimes in the retail space or corporate structure in that regard can be clouded. Um, but I think if it wasn't for Zabi, I wouldn't have been the manager that I was when I was running my own shop, essentially.
That's just great to hear. Everything comes from like a prior experience. Like every
Yeah, man.
every ethic always has like an origin story, and that's a very important thing to me. Like I definitely would say, even like my work ethic, like out there, and it's kind of carried over into this business as well. Like we're just doing content creation. It's kind of come from mostly Finish Line, but it's also come from all the other jobs I worked for in terms of discipline, timing, just making sure to maintain everything. That's always
For
been like
sure.
a big thing. Even though that's kind of a thing I still struggle with nowadays, just because I have to just like improvise, like pretty much go on the fly all the time. And like, at least like what I've done this year compared to prior years before, doing more like
Yeah.
uploads, like actual like YouTube videos, mostly commentary, but it's something at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like,
but you know what, dude? Like, ever since you had started, right, when you were back home out here, the cool thing is you got started, right? I think the hardest thing to do is taking the first step. So I think being able to like to do the uploads and commentary and then doing the podcast, like you're in the right path in that sense right now. It's just fine tuning it because you're already there. So it's not for a lack of effort. You're still on that path of what you're trying to do as a content creator or whatever you want to call yourself. But you got started, man. I think different circumstances as far as where you were currently at back home here in Cali to now, I think you could just breathe a little bit better, right? I think there wasn't as much stress to where you couldn't start.
exactly. It's uh, it's very different. Like obviously out here, in a way, I feel like I have more freedom, but at the same time, like I still gotta work within certain parameters. Like compared to Cali,
Yeah, of
it just felt like there was always something in the back of my mind. Could not focus on what I wanted to do. Like I could do it. It's just not
course.
gonna. It's just the level of quality is not gonna be there in comparison.
Yeah.
And
No, and
just
I see
something.
that, man. I think, sorry, I just real quick, I think just, I could see that right away. And I think that's what makes it, I think this was the move for you, which is why I'm just saying, like, it seems like right now you're in a better spot. So that's
Hundred
always cool to
percent.
see.
100%. Like you know, just so we don't keep regurgitating like all of this. Like I tell people this all the time. Sometimes you just need to make a bigger change. Like you can do like I tell this even to like some of my friends. You could keep working on what you're working on. No problem whatsoever. It's at least you're doing something. You're already doing a step that most people can't even get past, which is already step one.
Yeah,
But sometimes if change needs to happen to make it better, sometimes you got to take that change. And there's nothing
for
wrong with
sure.
that. That's what I always tell. Like I tell my because like I got two friends. You met one of them before I left. He's a
Yeah,
musician, and he always says that he wants to leave his job. I don't blame him from what he tells me, but there's just times it's like it's understandable he wants to leave, but do you have a backup plan? you don't have a backup
For
plan,
sure.
I don't think I think you're setting yourself up for a bigger failure than if you were to just stay.
Yeah, man. If you're just like, I'm out, peace, without the backup in that regard, then it kind of, then you're just like, okay, now you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? Always have that plan of action.
Mm-hmm. Like it's still like like I said, at least he's doing something that he wants to do. That's already a good thing. The most important part is like at least just getting it done. Like look at it nowadays. Now he has 4 albums, which he dropped his 4th one recently, which is called the Reset Button. I will probably I'll leave the title name of the album, and as far as I'm aware, it's pretty much on every listening platform,
That's
and it's awesome. It's I literally just listened to all of it not too long ago, and yeah, it's a mixture of classics that he's worked on, and then just some new stuff that I even helped with one of the songs. Pretty fucking good.
cool, man. Yeah, he was the one that I met at the shop, right?
Yes, the one you met at the shop.
Yeah, yeah. He seemed pretty chill, man. Like even in that small interaction when you guys had just stopped by.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty chill, dude.
Mm-hmm. And then like my other friend who just he uh he just finished like a theater show just like maybe this past weekend, and I remember he was like always telling me like he's still trying to like look for work just because obviously he needs like a form of income,
Yeah,
but the fact that he still did the show and it's gonna help him in terms of credit on in that front. And I know he says that he wants to eventually start streaming as well. I actually left him a decent amount of equipment for him to get started on, and I even gave him my old desk too. So it's just a matter of I'm just waiting on him to finally get started on it. I can help him out, as much as I can, and then he just goes off on the races. And he's got a decent enough following to get his friend to get people to watch him, and then I still collaborate with him here and there.
that's
Think it
pretty cool, man. I think, yeah, man. I think we can't lose sight of like, yeah, of course we want a form of income, which is you know obviously important, but I think we also need to have our like hobbies too, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like with stresses of work or whatever the case may be, having that outlet, whether it's music or cycling or I don't know, buying shoes, if that's your form of like
Like if
therapy
that's
in
a
that
hobby.
sense, yeah, hobby, then you should have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what would
That's
we be without it?
yeah. Like there's just hobbies that we just need to have something to do, and like even that same friend that I was mentioning earlier that lives in North Hollywood, he at least got us started on streaming. He got it started, and then he just took a hiatus just because he's having his personal turmoils. Like there's just times like what, right now is like not a good time to do certain things. Completely
Yeah.
understandable. But he has mentioned to me that he is looking to eventually make his comeback, but he's just still debating. He's still debating on it. And I still talk, and I've talked to him in terms of his work. Like he's thinking about changing his jobs,
Mm.
and from what it sounds like he's gonna have a lot more time to play with it. And I can't wait for that guy to fucking come back to streaming. I need that streaming partner back. Even though
Right?
he's in my streams, but come on, we gotta work together.
Yeah.
And it's always good. It's always good to see that. I pretty much am always happy when my friends have success. That's like the one thing I always say. Like I'm happier when they're successful in something.
As you should. I mean, it'd
Like
be kind of crazy if you weren't.
right.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, I hate this guy for doing things I
Right?
can't do. Like shit, dude. Like like even my friends tell me it's like the fact that I'm doing the things that I'm doing. It's great. It's great, man.
Yeah, man. Surround yourself with the people that are rooting for you.
Mm-hmm. Always, always. Like the other thing too is like I always tell like my friend, like I'm also kind of like that same guy who's like, when you mess up, I will let you know, but when you're succeeding, I will also let you know. I think those are
Now it should be.
the realest people. Will tell you both. Not.
Agreed. Yeah, man. Kind of going back, I want to add to that actually. Um, you said that pretty spot on because I've had people that I was cool with um, a long time ago, and I had to step away from them because the way that they were approaching things or thinking about these things, like there was a situation and we're all at my buddy's house and there was a situation or whatever. And these two guys were really close friends of mine. Like we would hang out every weekend, and he was trying to vouch for our other friend. He's like, "Well, I will always have his back, and if he tells me the sky is green, the sky is green." I'm like, "Dude, like, no, like the sky is not green." Like you're basically enabling these behaviors to where this person can do no wrong and not learn from that. Like, and I had to separate myself from that at that time because it just wasn't. It didn't make any sense, right? I think if I were to continue that, um, it was just probably the best choice. Like that's crazy, right? If I like Jeremy, the sky is green, and you're like, yeah, you know what, it is. I was like, no, no, it's not.
Yeah, I think in a way it's like you need to have a foil to your friendship in order to make the friendship better because I think if you have too many people, if you basically have too many yes men, that's a problem. That's a
That I can agree with. I think, yeah, you can't have many of those if you can't. If you could have none, I feel like that would be even better. But I think everyone needs to bring,
you
as
need
far
to
as friends
have
go,
I'd say
yeah, variety.
you need like people who can actually disagree with you and still maintain friendships. That's like I think the biggest thing.
Yep.
The biggest thing. That's what I've always noticed about like my current like circle.
Yeah,
I can have friends that disagree with me and we're still cool. That I think is the best
yeah, of
friendship.
course.
Like
There's growth. There's growth to that, right? Like you beef, you sort through your shit, and then you
just move on.
hug it out. Yeah,
Like shit. That's even how just to kind of like try to reel this back into like even how our team was. I think the good thing about our team was that most of us were able to, we could still like disagree on certain things, but we're still cool with each other. Granted, maybe a few people, maybe couldn't handle criticism.
yeah. I mean, there were people that definitely strayed away. I think but I think at that time, that's when we were bonusing or making our goals quite often. Inventory was great, and yeah, there was never really an issue in any of that capacity.
Mm-hmm. Like exactly. It's especially when like we can always like we know how to praise the highest of highs, but we know when to acknowledge the lowest of lows. I think that was always like going to be the biggest thing. Like even just like as people in general, like if you don't acknowledge like your lowest, I don't know what to expect out of you. Just
Yeah,
because you
you
could
know what the
literally
crazy part? Yeah, go ahead.
um just because you never know how to you never know how they're gonna crack under pressure. So we're in today's like society in general. Pressure is like at an all-time high nowadays. That I feel like we're seeing more people like crack overall.
Well, I also think after like the pandemic, everyone is just doesn't know how to work. But kind of going back to like before, I think when I was doing like the top performers of the week or whatever, there were people who liked that they were selling good, like you, for example, or like Nathan. But then the people that, because I had to post everyone, right? So
Yeah.
people that were underperforming, I'm sure they were like, oh, I guess embarrassed, which wasn't really the intention. It was more like, hey, like, because that's what happened to me, right? At the time of me starting, I wasn't good, and I it did suck seeing like my numbers like drop drastically. Because before, like dollar amounts for 881, for those of you who don't know, that's like shoe cleaners in the department for like finish line. We had to do ratios, so I think it was like for every 7 pairs of shoes that you sell, you should have a cleaner. For every 10 that you sell, you should have an insole sale. So like at the end of the week, they calculate your ratio to sales and accessories to your total shoe count. And if you had below a 3.0 ratio, it was either 3.0 or 5.0, then you were like, it was drastic, right? Because if you were underperforming week after week, that can call for a write up,
Yeah.
because that's your job description. But like
Yeah.
when it transitioned to just dollar sales, I think it was just like a sales dog mentality at that point.
Yeah. And then that, in a way, that kind of sort of created like stuff like that would create divides amongst any other like retail team.
Yeah.
Like in a way, because the thing I liked about our store is while we had things that we should be striving for individually, normally people would kind of like undercut people for that. But for us, we worked as a team. Like, and we remained that way. Like we know when to take advantage of stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, right? We leaned on what made sense, and we got shit done.
Yeah. That's I think that's the best way like we could describe it.
Yeah.
Because even my previous retail job before I left California, my problem was that company, they had stuff you could compete in, but I wouldn't necessarily say undercut, but I can definitely say that it's not, there just wasn't, it almost would not feel really competitive. Whether it's like, it felt lopsided for one employee, or there just wasn't much to compete for. There was like
Yeah.
no incentives. And I think that was always going to be an issue, like regardless.
Oh, dude. When I got first hired at Finish Line, because you said incentive, they just stopped doing commission.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
It
Finish
was
Line,
commission
I
based.
want to say Finish Line. I don't know how Foot Locker is or Foot Action or Champs, but I would think, I don't know if now, but yeah, with Finish Line, um, they were commission based. I mean, the commission wasn't high at that time, but
It was still something.
yeah, dude, the commission. They were getting commission before they scrapped it, and I honestly don't think I would have liked the commission aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Like,
think that's where like shady business would go around or can go around, like people snaking sales, or you know what I mean.
like bloating their sales to make them look a lot better
Well,
when in
but not
reality they
even
don't.
that. Well, even at Northridge Core, right, there was no commission, but like I've seen people where they would help someone, and then because Northridge Core was a big shop, we're always helping however many people at a time. So they would bring the shoe up to the cashiers, but then I noticed that the associate would say, "Hey, this is my sale with shoe cleaner, insole, etc." but then another associate who wasn't even near that customer tells the cashier, "Hey, put under my number," and they did.
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
think that's the crazy part.
yeah, that's like I always say too. It's like the idea of commission based is sound.
Yeah.
However, I will say that commission, you said it perfectly. It just leads to kind of like more shadier practices
Mhm.
and inflations of like your own numbers when in reality it's like something else, like lower.
Oh, it's
And
nuts, dude. It's crazy.
and that's why I always tell people like every time I hear the word commission, I almost like get nope, I'm good. I always like
Right?
deter I deter from it because look, I don't mind competition, like I get it. But if I want to be competitive in something, it would be more in spaces like this. This is where you want to be like somewhat competitive. You know,
Yeah,
personally,
man.
but personally, like the thing I always remain like in terms of like to stay kind of like go on this real quick before we go back to our initial topics. Um, I do this just because I want to do something different. I'm not looking to get like monetized like immediately, but it would be cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna rush it. Like
Yeah,
I want more
it's the
natural
end game
growth.
for you.
Hmm.
Yeah, longevity, my friend. That's just what it is.
Like to be quite honest, like um, my friends have always said that like I could do this. It was just a matter of just doing it.
When?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was a when thing, yeah. And honestly, like I think the whole time that I thought about doing content creation, like I legit think I could keep doing this until like I'm fucking 60. I dead ass think
That'd be
that.
cool.
Like whether it's still doing gaming stuff is a completely different story. That just depends if my like I would like to do that personally.
Well, the arthritis kicks in or what?
Maybe.
Old
Maybe.
man Jeremy with a white beard.
Uh,
Fucking Kung
beard,
Fu Master with
bald
with
head.
headphones on, playing video games.
60-year-old man playing and still streaming.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, know what? As long as like I enjoy it, I ain't gonna be mad about it.
Right? I would think so.
Yep. But to quickly kind of like get back into like to stay afloat, even though we've never stayed afloat on this whole recording.
This is true. Yeah.
um, yeah, like that whole competitive thing, just like I don't think it works in theory, but depending on execution, it could go horribly wrong. That's always been a thing that I've always said about like certain aspects. It's one thing to say it in theory because you know it we believe in the statement sounds easier said than done.
Oh yeah. It, anything like yeah. I mean, I feel like anything up front, you just kind of like just to piggyback off of that. Yeah. Hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. But dude, there's a process. It's it's not it's not that easy.
Yeah,
It's time. It's effort. It's the consistency of it.
yeah, you know, it's like the one I always say, Greece wasn't built overnight. Like every everything
Was
took
that Greece
time.
wasn't built overnight or Rome wasn't built in a day?
Something like that. It's always like between the two. I know it's always between those two cities. They weren't
Yeah.
built like overnight or in a day. It was
Yeah.
everything takes time, man. And I think people kind of get caught in that loop that they don't realize they want. The thing is that people want instant gratification versus like us, you know, or like even other people. There are people who will get more benefits out of delayed gratification.
Yeah. Of course. Again, longevity, dude. I mean, it's kind of like I'm not gonna go super deep into this, but it's the best way I could put it. Like when people get into like the stocks and like all this stuff, they cash in, cash out fast, but stuff in that matter is like the long term, right? Are you
Mm-hmm.
going to do the moment you see something in the green? you're going to cash out because it was just a quick buck, or are you going to work at it to earn more?
Yeah, exactly. Like I even like kind of like the stuff that I've been looking into. Like I remember I have a video on my channel that's still up right now that's saying I was thinking about potentially doing product reviews, and I kind of sort of did that actually with these headphones, funny enough, which I'll probably get an updated one in a month or so, or like a
Nice.
few weeks. I'll have like an updated take on it. But I did like my first initial impressions on it,
Yeah.
and you know it was a start. I'll and I kind of I'm honestly thinking of still doing product reviews. I just don't know on what products. It just really depends on what it is that I would find interesting, that I think others would find
Mm.
interesting. Because even like recording equipment wise, like I thought about that, but then at the same time, there's people who I think explained it better than I would. I would probably just rather do more specific gaming peripherals. Like, for example, since I'm kind of into the fighting game scene, like I actually have an arcade stick in that closet over there that I still use occasionally here and there. And then I got like this guy right here, which is like a leverless controller, which is more for like
Oh,
yeah,
you're official, dude.
yeah. And I only
I'm about to see you on those
on tournaments.
video, yeah, those tournaments, like super sweaty against like other people.
Hey, maybe you know what? I was kind of like jokingly saying this, but I legit may consider going. Not I don't know about pro, but I definitely going on competitive with the League of Legends fighting game. 2XKO that's supposed to come out this year.
Okay.
I legit might think about it. I'll at least think about it. And if somebody
Mhm.
wants a duo with me, we're gonna make content. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Because I had my that same friend that did streaming. We played
Mm.
2XKO for a little bit, and it was just it in a way it sucked when I died a lot, but it was so fucking funny. I just see him just like he's fighting for his fucking life. You know, shit like that.
Yeah.
Eh, Like and but eventually like I was gonna do like maybe do product reviews, just do like my impressions or my how I feel about certain things. Because I'm even thinking of getting like certain pro controllers too. Use those as like an investment, and I just do like
Yeah,
typical,
no.
like just do. Here's my first impressions. Here's like the 6 month, and then a year how I feel about them. You know, shit like that. That's what I
Well,
thought
dude,
about doing.
start off with the stuff that you already know, right? You are in the
Mm-hmm.
video game world. You're in the sneaker world, in essence, right?
Well,
You're,
sneaker world, kind of.
yeah, in essence. Like you're in this space already. So I think something of that, and along the lines of those topics, like, yeah, doing a review on sneakers or, the
Just
accessories, like the
mm-hmm.
controllers, everything of that sort, that's something you could easily tap into. I
Yeah.
don't think it would be a challenge because you're already in that world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it's a passion. It's something I'm passionate about, man.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like one of the big things. And to just kind of have a very unseamless transition back into finish line. You know, we're like I said, I don't. I think I'm kind of. I may have figured out my tagline. Maybe a few days ago, which I'll probably say it at the end of the recording.
Cool.
But I guess like one of the things I do want to talk about, like I guess that kind of is our retail takeaways. It's just learning to trust the process, like Philly. You know, even though the Sixers suck ass right now, they're out of playoffs.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, I don't care for the Sixers, so that's okay.
but just but the one thing we will definitely say out of them, you do got to trust your process.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess like the thing I do want to kind of like mention, just because we have talked about finish line so much, I guess one made us leave. It's gonna get we're gonna get real deep in that one, I think.
All right. How about we could do that, and then we could end on a light note with top pickups from when we worked there.
I'm totally down with it.
Okay, cool. Uh, do you want me to go first for that question, or do you want to go first?
I think it should start with you because that's how
That
a
makes
lot of
sense.
things. I think a lot of things start with you, and it becomes a
Yeah.
trickle down effect.
Which is crazy. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I've repeated this before. So, I left Finish Line because I was promised, or I was working towards a better opportunity within the company that soon then came out that I was never going to get, because at the location that we were at, no one was going to fill that spot. So it showed me that I was just going to be stuck there and miserable and not get the role that I was setting out to get. You know,
Mhm.
I took on the roles of not only, what were they calling it, a market leader, which is essentially helping, you know, the DM or area manager oversee the store, a few stores per market leader. There's at least three, and help the area manager oversee the stores and the store managers to see how they're doing, how they're tracking, etc. Hold conference calls of that nature. You know, I wasn't getting extra pay for that, but it was a stepping stone to, you know, hopefully grow my path within the company to essentially get out of the retail aspect of it, right? My goal was to be a city manager and then eventually an area manager. And um, I think to kind of go back to that, what really made me ready to leave actually was a little before that. And I'll say it up here because I think it's crazy. So when my wife was pregnant with my daughter, I had the opportunity to run a different location that was in the valley. And mind you, that location is 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes away. Could be more because of the main freeways that we have, right? So
Mhm.
traffic would be a bitch.
Yeah, it
And
would take you like an hour to get back.
100%. And, you know, for $1 more, I thought that was kind of a slap in the face, with what I've done for the company at the volume in Valencia that we were doing. You know, we weren't as big of a volume as all these other locations, right? And I think what pissed me off and really got me to realize like I can't work for this person anymore is I don't know if he understood or how he said it, but he had said, I respectfully decline the opportunity to work at that location because, you know, my wife was pregnant. If something were to happen, or she needed to go to hospital appointments, anything that I would need to leave like right away, going from the valley back to where I was at, you just never know. So I respectfully declined, and if there was another opportunity that came up that made sense, and you know, I would definitely consider it more. Just right now, this wasn't the time. And he had said, "Hey, man, you know, like for your family, you should be able to make these sacrifices for your family." And I approached my boss at the time and I said, "Did you not hear what I said?" I said, "You know, if my wife needed to go to the hospital or into labor, whatever the case was, either way, my wife was pregnant, and I said I needed to be closer." And he disregarded that. And this is him being a father too. So
So it's just kind of like
that for me,
hilarious.
yeah. So that was one part of it, right? To kind of segue back into the other part of me trying to elevate myself to get out of retail in that company. Um, I was doing all these things, and I think my boss at the time was trying to. It came off in a way where setting me up to fail. Right, I did everything that I was supposed to do, but for some reason there was no traction or movement of my elevation within the company. Yeah, I was doing the things that and more. So honestly, it got to the point where if I wasn't already burnt out then, I definitely was already feeling that now at that time. So at that point, you know, I was looking elsewhere, and it got to the point where, you know, it's something that I just couldn't continue to do. And yeah, but the crazy part was upon like my departure, or when I officially put my 2 weeks. I think you and everyone there was like, "Well, if you're quitting, I'm quitting," and that was the crazy part, right? Because if we talked about like what I've learned from, said boss, people work for people, so it was just kind of cool. Not that I wanted everyone to quit on my accord, but that made me feel good in the sense of like, oh, that was cool. Like, like they had my back. But yeah, man, it just wasn't. It didn't make any sense anymore, and wasn't happy. It wasn't. I should have been far past my role as a store manager with the amount that I've done and accomplished. And I think the goal for them was, how do I keep them at this store? So, yeah, that's why I left, man. I found
And that was
I
beautifully
found it
done.
just wasn't it. Yeah,
I think that was beautifully well done. Even though I've heard it, I still remember when you told me that. I just was like, I am baffled at that thought. You know,
yeah, man.
it's just like the guy who's like had your back for like so many years now all of a sudden pulls the fattest 180 on you.
Well, maybe in hindsight, man, maybe he never had my back. That's the thing, right?
That too.
Maybe he was upfront and it just came out that way, but it wasn't like. Now it gets me to think, because I've had other managers where they would be like, oh yeah, like anytime he visits any store, he talks shit about the other store, the manager over there. So I've known that. So because anytime he would come to visit, that's what he would do. Like he would bash on the other managers, and if he's doing that to them, who's to say that if he was going to other stores, he wasn't saying that about me, right? So I was aware of it. I just didn't think. I mean, that was one thing, but I just didn't think my opportunity for growth was going to be affected in that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see you'd be feeling, especially because you're at like that level, and to feel that you
Dude,
don't feel like you're gonna move up. I think
I
that
turned that store around.
yeah, I remember because my sis, even like everyone that we talked to, said that we basically turned the entire store upside down in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
And mind you, that's
created.
2 shops.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the fact there was one floor up and then the other floor down for men, technically I ran 2 shops because I had 2 different budgets per shop. So it wasn't like it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but I had a lot to work with as far as capacity of space and inventory.
Mm-hmm.
But to manage that and, you know, have a team or myself exceed as far as goals or inventory. I mean, we had a couple of years we had really great inventories, and we had one where we had a perfect score.
Damn.
And I think that was my first inventory, self-scanning inventory, um, as a store manager.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. That's already like a lot of accomplishments right there.
Yeah.
And
Why'd you leave?
All right. So, in a way, it sort of falls in the middle of yours, essentially. So this was the initial plan that I had for like the longest time with Finish Line. It was at least work 4 years so I can put on my resume saying this was my longest job. Mind you, this was only my second job. So, and I don't want to be, at least when I look at my resume, I don't want to look at my first job as my longest because
Yeah.
I was miserable there.
Yeah.
Like I said, around, honestly, even like after a year, I started to really feel miserable. And that was at a time that we weren't really looking at burnout like that.
For
Like
sure.
to the level that we look at it now, I wish we had it back then. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So 4 years was already coming up for Finish Line. I think I was basically halfway at that point, if not about close to halfway. And I said, I'm gonna do my 4 years here, see where I feel. And when you drop the kind of like, and when with all the things that were happening at that store, like even like a particular team member who
Yeah.
got the most, pretty much a nepo baby fucking promotion that I've ever seen. I still just couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. It was just like, I remember when I got word of it, it was just like, you just picked the lowest choice when we
Yeah.
had, obviously you, we had Nate, we had me, and another guy who, you were friends with. I assume you're still
Yeah.
friends with, who was not even in our store for a long time, but he showed more than a lot of other people.
Mhm.
4 capable individuals that could run the location. And you picked the lowest one. So it's just like so crazy that happened. That
Wait, to run our location, or who we talk, or
to run
to be an ASM?
ASM
Oh,
in
to
a
be an
different,
ASM at the other store.
yes, that one.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna tell the audience and everyone right now. That dude sucked. He,
100%.
I will tell you right now, like that was a bad call in the hiring process, but I think ego got the best of this kid, and I think I'm not even sure he's with the company anymore. But it wasn't. Yeah, no, yeah. We'll just leave it at that. He was horrible.
He was just not a good, like, I'll give him this. He had energy when it was very high.
Mm,
Well,
I
initially,
think that was maybe.
like in our first impression was pretty solid. Had room to improve,
Yeah,
but he was solid.
but first impression, right? But what happened to everything in between? So I think there's
Which
a
is what
whole
we
weight.
always say: trust the process, and his
Yeah,
process didn't work.
yeah.
Simple as that. And
Yeah, dude, you probably could have been an AM. I'll let you continue, but yeah, I think you should have been an AM
I agree.
or a supervisor. Yeah,
I
but
should
yeah,
like
let's go. Let's go back to that, dude. I think
yeah.
we're
Let's stay on course. Let's stay on course.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
okay. So when that happened, so when he got promoted, that already was
Yeah.
kind of like strike one. Strike two was when you told me the whole situation that you just mentioned. With obviously at the time, you had to worry about your wife. Family comes 1st. I
Mhm.
don't care what business says that. I will, like, even with like my current company, I will leave that company if they don't want me to be with my family
Yeah.
when they're in like a time of need. If they will impede on that, mic drop.
Yep.
For the non-audio listeners, let's just put it that way.
Exactly.
So that was strike two. And then I think eventually when I wouldn't say there was a strike three necessarily, like, or not a definitive strike three, but but to kind of what happened after you left, I made a pretty interesting choice. Granted, it was a choice I shouldn't have made, but it was a choice I was willing to take, which
Yeah.
was to try to help the store run for the holidays and then go our separate ways after. Like, literally, once it was like like halfway through January that I was striving for, I'll dip.
Yeah.
But that didn't even last.
You didn't even make it. I realized. I think you had called me, or I had called you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even last like a week or 2 weeks after
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I left, and you said, "All right, I'm out. I can't do this."
Because the thing that sucked was that we lost a lot of people within like the
Yeah.
time that you were during your last few weeks. Obviously, we were losing you and Nate, and we lost another team member.
Yeah.
And then I basically had a whole skeleton crew with me taking the
Yeah,
helm.
you did.
It's like,
Yeah, it was a weird situation.
and then already like we had that other employee that we said had good work ethic. Everyone else, they saw like my body language and everything.
Mhm.
he's beyond destroyed. He's basically a corpse walking around. It's like, and it was crazy, man. Like, I've never felt so much like depression
Mhm.
in my life up until that point. And that says a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm usually good at hiding that shit. But that was like,
Yeah.
the armor was cracked. Everything was leaking out. Just, and you know what? The one thing I will say, in hindsight now, I attempted. The least I can say is that I
True.
attempted it.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's crazy too, is that I couldn't even finish the 2 weeks because I contracted COVID.
Yeah. I remember that. And then you just never came back.
Nah. No, literally when I contracted COVID, it was literally like the last week of my 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
even if I wanted to finish it, I couldn't because of medical reasons.
That's true.
So
I mean, that was a blessing in disguise, then, right?
yeah, exactly. And you know what? I will say this. There were a lot of high moments and there were a lot of low moments over there at that store.
Overall.
I'd say overall I still hold it up there. I don't know if it's number one anymore, especially because of the
How
company I'm working
dare
for.
you?
I'm sorry, Albert.
No, I
I'm
get it.
sorry. But in terms of like the company I'm working for right now, which has pretty
Yeah.
much had my back ever since I started with that company, I've never been, they've always had, let's put it this way. I've never seen a company adjust to my chaotic lifestyle over there as much as they have. Because
Good
every
point.
time I've tried to work at any other company, they're stiff. They don't. They don't want it, dude.
Well, that's the thing too, right? When we were cut short in the midst of like COVID and everything, when you're at, I'm just gonna say the job because you're not there anymore, Cafe Rio,
Mm-hmm.
or like even your current job now, but in California, when I needed you a certain day, you would have to like kind of partner up with your manager over at
Over
your
there.
company now, just to kind of find the balance in that. So, yeah, man, I think it was in the long run. Yeah, I think it worked out in that sense that you were still able to help out, but without interfering with your other income.
Yeah. Striking the chord is like the thing I always say. It's always finding that chord or balance to strike. You get that, I think you're set for life if you know how
Yeah.
to strike those balances. Like it could be slightly off, maybe give one way to another, but
Mm.
if you could strike it and if it works for both, what can go wrong? And I guess to kind of have like a little bit of I'll just add a bonus to this one because funny enough, I did go back to that location just for a completely different store. I'm not going to mention that company just because I think it's still a little too fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I did leave them in November, like literally before Black
Mm-hmm.
Friday. But let's just say I had a sort of similar situation happen over there. And it was so eerie that it was so similar to Finish Line. But I was now in a position of higher power, as in essence. Because I was a
Yeah.
supervisor there. My manager left because she, just living out there just wasn't going to cut it out. So she moved to San Jose.
Oh yeah,
Then
I forgot about that.
and
I
then
forgot
my
about that job.
and then my another supervisor literally rolled her fucking ankle on her vacation. She's doing good. Like
Mm.
I did see her like before I left and I was just like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, that is so fucked." And what made it worse was the fact that we had to teach new people. We had back to school. We had to change our store because we usually change the store monthly. And we had another supervisor who was doing an internship, but she was also trying to work with us. So it led to the point that I basically had to be a manager, like pseudo manager, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I've never felt so close to doing certain being under certain influences in my life until that moment. Like I legit would have gone over to my homie that makes music, fuck me up.
Yeah.
But again, is what it is. Eventually, I mean, our company did get a manager, but I felt the company pulled a betrayal on me because I was the one that held it down for them. And then all of a sudden, they just like I get cutting hours to a certain extent, but it was hours to the point that it looked like I was just a sales associate.
Mm.
And it's like, wait, what is your job? Supervisor? Oh, hell no.
I feel like on a legal standpoint too, if you're in any role, or I think in management, like you shouldn't have anything under that X amount, but who knows?
Yeah, that's, it just, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I was trying to like really like hard sell on my new manager at the time. Like, look, I enjoyed, even though we struggled, I still enjoyed my time, working in that
Yeah.
company. But I needed to know if they were going to support me, even if I have a second job. The second job was willing to, bend their knees just to have me work a different location or at this spot. And because of that, that manager was, nope, I'm dead set on what the company wants. And it just, I mean, it was getting to the point that we needed to reach to like the district managers about that situation. That's how bad it got.
Mm.
And I kept saying, look, I don't think it makes sense that I was being given the hours that I was given. And because they were like, oh, we want performance, blah, blah, blah. Nah. I was like,
Yeah.
I already knew. I was like, nah, I know where this is ending. Like, even my current company, my leads over there, they were telling me, dude, you need to just, like, we get you. We fully support you. But, like, I think what helped is that one of them said, I think you need to set your terms and conditions to stay with said company. They aren't. And I was like, that was a wake-up call. I was just like, that's what I need to do. I need to set terms and conditions. And that's all and I set those. She didn't want to abide by it. I said, then I think I know what our answer is. So.
And on a lighter note, fellas, why don't we transition to a positive note?
There you go. Yep. Let's just transition. A little lighter. It's a conversation for a different day. Maybe a video. Who knows?
And this last part of it is going to be pretty cool because I feel like even though we're not quite in it, we'll still be in it.
Like we're still going to be at this point, even though we're not as into it as we used to, we're still like keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I feel like I've never really, like when it comes to like sneakers, right? I feel like I've never been out of touch in that sense. I still follow the accounts. I still have like the apps for like releases and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I mean, what are we doing? Top 5?
I mean, I wasn't really gonna put it as top 5, to be quite honest with you. I was just gonna say I just listed it as best pickups that we could remember, or at least I have a story to them.
So
I'll let you go first.
I think I might just have 5, honestly, just because it's not it's a model, but nothing, and different colorways and whatnot. But so I would say, not in particular order. As funny as it sounds, there's a context behind it. Getting into the Nike Air Huaraches.
Oh man.
In the manner of like, because my wife she knows sneakers, she has sneakers, but the Huaraches is like in like I think it was like the rose colorway, the emerald green, and then that gray gun bottom ones. Those are like the start of her like, oh, I have all these like shoes now. And that was pretty cool. For that story, because that's where her kind of collection started too, from Huaraches. And Huaraches are comfortable. Mind you,
Oh,
always go half
oh, yeah.
size up because
Always.
they run small.
And they're
Um,
the way the shoe is structured too.
for sure. If you got your true size, you would be hurting at the heel because of the way that little cage in the back. Yeah. But I would say another pickup that from Finish Line that was pretty key was the Zoom Vomero 5s. I feel like I put you on that, huh?
Oh, 100%. I
Yeah.
always, because here's the funny thing is I did see the Zoom Vomeros from a couple of sneaker YouTubers. And then once you got it, I was like, all right, bet.
Yeah, man. Zoom Vomero 5s are a game changer. Like all day comfort, retro look, which is like the thing that everyone's going retro runners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, we always have that conversation. Damn, what if they made a yellow one? They did make a yellow one. What if they made an orange one? They made an orange one.
And then they also
They
made a
made
pink one too.
They had a purple one.
Mm-hmm. The Gengars.
Yeah. So like the Zoom Vomero 5, all day comfort. You could wear it out casually. Like honestly, in essence, like perfect beaters, right? I think most of the shoes that I've chosen, like they're in my quote unquote list, are all shoes that can be beaters. Something you wear every day till you can't.
Absolutely.
And still, yeah, comfort, right? I feel like for me, it got to the point like I was never really into Jordans like that. Jordans for me, cool.
But
Retro's cool. I understand the story, sentiment behind it, but I might get canceled after this, but Jordans, retro Jordans suck.
yeah, unfortunately.
I would say like the 4s are cool. I would rather get the Jordan 4 SBs than I would get regular retros.
Completely understandable.
Just comfort wise.
Completely
right?
understandable,
Comfort,
dude.
padded tongue, padded forefoot, everything of that sort.
And then
I
zoom
would not get a
on
retro.
the cushion.
Yeah, dude. That over regular retros, 100%.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
retro
absolutely.
Jordans are cool for an historical standpoint, but as far as comfort and functionality, I think it's just whack. I don't care for it. I would honestly, if there's value in it in the sense of reselling, that would be the first thought in my mind. Not like, hey, I'm gonna wear this. Like, no, let's flip it.
That's me with Travis Scott's.
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to that, now we're going like, yeah, that's just me bashing my thoughts on retros, whatever. So I said Hirachis because of my wife. Then I have the Vomeros. I would say, let's see. For sure, I think this is going to be like my last 3 shoes in essence because it's all the same brand, different models.
Mm-hmm.
Would be New Balance. So,
hell yeah.
New Balance, the 990 V4,
Mm-hmm.
the New Balance 990 V6, and the New Balance 993 or 992 that I have. Again, comfort at the end of the day, right?
It's all about comfort.
I think it
That's
got
what
to
we want.
I think it got to the point where like, why would I suffer and hurt my feet for a shoe that looks decent or okay, aka Jordans, when I could have a shoe that not only looks good on feet, but you could actually be comfortable at work or whatever. I think with New Balance, they actually have done great, and they have done great. They have a long catalog of, older models, stuff from the archives that they're bringing back to where that's what they're trying to push, whether it's through athletics, through lifestyle, runners, or in this age, for all you people younger, quote unquote, retro runners. Yeah, these models are great. I think colorway, color blocking, everything from the last of the shoe to colorways to overall, I think they've really. It's nice to see New Balance get their flowers over, your Nikes or your Adidas, because I think even till this day, as popular as they are now, I think they're still the underdog, right? Along with Asics.
Saucony.
Saucony.
And then nowadays, you're seeing like more like on cloud shoes.
Yeah, there's
On
definitely more
Cloud.
collaborations with On
Mhm.
Cloud and stuff like that, and they're cool. I mean, aesthetically, they're okay. Comfort, I'm sure they're there,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, all these older companies or these companies that back in the day, people would be like, "Oh, what is that, Nike?" Because they see a New Balance with an N,
Yeah.
and their first association is Nike.
Oh yeah,
So
of
it's like
course.
cool to see that kind of do full circle. It's like the champion flip, right?
Yep.
Champion was a brand that started with like they were doing NBA jerseys, and they got to the point where they were in Walmart or like Ross or whatever, and they were
Like your
stupid cheap.
like dumb cheap areas.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it became like this big boom, and now like that's the thing that everyone's going for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I will say this with aside from New Balance and the Nike Hirachis and the Nike Zoom Vomeros, I would throw Boost, Adidas Ultra Boost.
Yes.
That line and when it came out, in the midst of me being at finish line, was a game changer. Right? It
Oh, it entirely.
elevated the running and lifestyle with Ultra Boost and NMD. Even though NMD weren't really comfortable, but it was
No,
the
no,
hype of the Boost midsole,
Yes.
right? And collaborations, and I've had X amount of like Ultra Boost, and they're far gone now, but those were definitely a shoe that were super comfortable
Of a
and
time.
being
Yeah.
on your feet all day too.
Oh yeah.
Colorways were great too, especially the multicolor stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's when I think Boost just got really interesting, is once they started actually doing different colors. Obviously at the time we didn't know that they were really just fucking painted on, but still
Yeah,
we thought it would have
but
been cool.
now,
It's like
yeah, but now there's no boost. Like it's like fizzed out, man. I mean,
I think now they're
well, that,
Adidas has now like moved on to like just upping their essentially their running cushions.
yeah.
I think that's what changed the game for them.
Well, the thing that kind of buried them too is that they're pumping out new NMD colorways like every 2 days,
Yeah. It was their Air Force
right?
One.
Yeah, and then when they brought back the first three colorways of the Ultra Boost, that didn't really have much traction.
No.
I think at that point, sneakers were shifting a different way because everyone's on their quote unquote dad shoe.
Mm-hmm. Like, especially like the fucking Wave Runner, just
Yeah.
because Ye's style, or at least Ye's influence at that time was
Yeah.
so pivotal. And because of how pivotal it was, everyone wanted to be like Ye. Completely, Nowadays, I mean, motherfuckers off his rails.
I think they still have Adidas, like the Yeezys on Adidas for like stupid cheap, like $50
Yeah, they're
or
trying to
something.
liquidate like their entire stock or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was like, part of me wants to,
I'm
but I
curious
kind of
now.
don't want to because of the
Right?
association.
You just kind of
It's the
listen to the lines of
association.
like, damn, that's a pretty solid deal. Like,
It's like tempting.
if it was like the OG Wave Runner, that blue one, then yeah, I probably would.
Like the gray with the blue.
With the blue, yeah.
I would make an exception on that one, but I'm like, I don't really care either.
Yeah.
But
What about you?
Okay. Right off the gate, I mean, even though you did mention Jordans do suck, I do agree they suck. But at least like nowadays, I'm not getting as many as I used to.
Mhm.
But Jordan 3s and 4, the Black Cement 3, I'm pretty sure I remember getting that in my first year. I want to say I got it in my first year, like working with the finish line at the time. And it's like it's up there as like one of my favorite shoes of all time.
Which one is it?
The Jordan Black Cement 3s. Favorite model.
Oh yeah. It was.
Favorite colorway.
Yeah.
It's just overall, that's Jordan for me. As much as everyone, usually says it's between like Black Cement 4s, Jordan 1 Brits. Completely understandable. Black Cement 3 is for me. That's a Jordan. That's true Jordan right there. Other ones that I remember, at least like my most memorable pickups, is actually I actually still have it. Funny enough, because I thought about selling it, and then my mom was like, "No, yeah, I think you should keep it. It actually looks kind of cool." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." It's what the Prestos. if
You
if
know
you
what?
remember,
Honorable mention. Prestos are on my list too.
honorable mention, cool. So,
Yeah.
but the funny thing, actually, the only reason I mentioned the what the Prestos is because when me, you, and Nate were thinking of getting it, me and Nathan got it. We love it, and then you got it. Oh, it don't fit me.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And we were like, in a way, it was like I was pissed that I got it, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad
It worked
as it.
out.
No, they're fucking comfy, dude.
Yeah.
So I can't be too mad at it.
See, you're welcome.
That's motherfucker.
Why not?
Anyways, yeah, shut up. Not that's all. I'll see if I can mention that story like in a bit. But
You good?
what's it called? So I guess the other thing is really just like the myriad of New Balances I eventually got into because of you, actually. Because I think my first set of New Balance was actually at Zoomies. Those 574 sports.
Hmm.
That was my first one. I think that's my favorite New Balance. Like in general, I like the sleek style of it. Very comfortable. Um, Kind of low key mad I got rid of them, but you know what? It was just kind of like I wasn't really wearing it as much as I used to, but they haven't pumped new colors, so maybe when they bring it back, I don't know. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
consider it. Uh, Another kind of like one of my favorite pickups is actually like I think I gave you your son this pair. Was the my Reeboks, my the questions,
Kobe, quote unquote Kobe's.
the quote unquote Kobe's, yes. That one I think is because it was like one of my rarest, like it's gonna be like one of the rarest shoes I had at the time. But I was like, and then I started to like really, I think that was the turning point of me like saying, is it really worth keeping this? Because like even though I like these, I just don't know if I was really gonna use it. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just give it off. And I know that you're the biggest Kobe fan, like out of us. So in a way, it's kind of like you have a piece of history in Kobe's
For
career.
sure.
Um, that was like a big one. Um, I'm trying to, and then a lot of it really kind of boils down to it's kind of similar to yours. Definitely Vomeros. Just I now have like too many pairs of Vomeros nowadays. And I
Yeah.
think I'm good. I'm not gonna buy anymore because I actually have like a gray pair. I have like and I got a bunch in that closet right there. I think I got like 5 in total. Uh,
Pretty good chunk.
yeah, I think that's already good enough for me. And it's funny too because they brought back like some of the OG colors too. Like they actually brought your gray
Oh,
ones.
dude, yeah.
That was like fuck.
The black and gray ones. I need
Mm,
to get those
that's
again. God
another
damn it.
like that's another one that's like straight beater status that I could definitely
Yeah,
consider.
dude. Feel like getting that one again.
It's tempting. It's tempting.
Oh, Klarna. Klarna.
Yeah, that's
Just kidding. I leave that to you, Nathan.
motherfucker. um, but yeah, there's those, and then I guess like the other, yeah, like the other notable ones is actually when I got the Salehi Bembury 574s with the fucking whistle on the back.
Yeah, yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I actually like my the black pair is actually kind of a beater, not gonna lie, because I kind of wear that one a lot, and I actually have I bought the green pair or like the olive pair, like maybe
Mhm.
not last year prior, like because it just had a random restock, and I was just like, you know what, I think I can go for it, and sure enough, I
Was
did.
it on sneakers and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
See, that's how I know. Like, we're super heavy into all that stuff.
Hmm. The fact that we're mentioning like different sneaker like boutiques says it all right there.
Yeah.
That's how into the game we were. And even the fucking Salehi Bembury Crocs, I got a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
I have a couple of the Pollexes still. I still have my black pair. I got a gray pair, the tan one, and then the pink ones.
Mm.
I still remember when we were trying to go for it. You were so annoyed that I got the pink ones.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about that.
We're not gonna mention what you said about
No,
them.
we're not mentioning that.
It's a little too adult, or let's just say that
Yeah.
much. But yeah, no, I definitely get a lot of eyes on that one. That's for sure.
Mm.
But that's why I kind of just wear the black pair, and I'm like, I think I'd rather have just some more neutral tones, like neutral earthy tone colored ones, and then I'm chilling. Um, yeah, a lot of it's like heat Bembury's, and then my only two Asics that I actually still have, um, the
The
Bodega pair.
Keanos?
My Kayano 14s, the gray joints, and
Yeah.
then the Gel MC Plus, the Bodega pair.
Oh, that's right.
I still have those. Very comfy. It's kind of like leaning into like what you said about retro runners,
Yeah.
and just comfort overall. I think once I got to the New Balance point of that time, I was more about comfort than like anything else.
Of course.
Yep.
That was like the intention of it, right? Yeah, comfort over hype.
Yep. And nowadays, like, people understand that. Like, you could still have a hype release and it could still be comfy too.
Well, most of these companies, like hype, quote unquote, hype shoes are GRs. That's the thing.
Which is a crazy part if you think about it.
Yeah, and I will 100% back that up because, again, retro Jordan, don't care for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather get the SB Jordan 4s. My son, I know we hit on the Travis Scott 6, the weak color ones when he was, I don't know how old he was at the time, but the size 3. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 3rd, 4th grade maybe. Maybe before that. No, yeah, definitely younger than that. 2nd or 3rd grade. So, yeah, man, comfort.
Just is what it is, you know? But yeah, I think that's pretty much just how. So it shows that we're still like kind of into the game. We're just not as into it as we used to be.
Yeah.
Especially because nowadays it's just so expensive. And
Yeah, and I think we have different ventures, like you're doing your podcast, your gaming, all that stuff. So that's another whole investment. So
that's all a different dimension. That's like an actual investment versus like just sneakers,
Mhm.
which are
Mhm.
what are they at the end of the day? Fucking rubber, and it's rubber, leather, and plastics put together with glue.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, you know what? Just things change, man. There's things just change in general. We've kind of, you know, we'll still somehow come back to it. I still remember when you called me. You're like, dude, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh, Jesus, man.
I'm just.
You still need to do that, by the way. Just one. At undefeated.com.
I'll think about it. I'll say that much.
You know what? Just corner it.
Shut up. Let me enjoy my peace over here.
Afterpay.
But yeah, I guess like the only like last like quick little topic, we don't have to really go too far into this. Like I already mentioned, like content creation stuff for me and product reviews as like interests that we picked up out after Finish Line. I guess we should like. Do you want to just quickly go over yours real quick before I let you go, dude?
Yeah, just real quick. I am currently at a bike shop.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, I was always into cycling. I think, but because of this job, I got more deep into it. So aside from like, art and sneakers sometimes, yeah, cycling has definitely been an outlet. Because we're just talking about like hobbies that, help us like get in our little Zen mode. So I've actually been doing that. I've had some sponsorships already, which is pretty cool. Some more projects lined up, just kind of waiting and fine tuning things. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I'm currently doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I still remember when I was living in California because you were not far from me. You were literally like short 5 minute drive away from me.
Yeah, if that, in all of the places you've been at, it was
Mhm.
within reach.
Yeah. And now, just things change.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's still always fun to bike too. Like I just use a fucking e-bike, but still,
that's
you know,
okay. It's still
it's
out.
I mean, I don't really plan to go into like as deep of like, for you obviously cuz you're doing like full cycling, like full
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
marathons too. And like for
Like
me it's just
100
like
mile rides.
I just do casual. I'm just casually riding.
That's fine.
Nothing wrong with it. And
Yeah,
e-bikes are fucking fun. That's the part that sucks.
it is.
They're fun as fuck.
Yeah.
Uh
Oh, there's one I need to send you. We actually carry it. I think yeah, you would like it. Your parents would like it. It's called a Jackrabbit. It's actually pretty fun.
I feel maybe my parents have seen it then. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and then you send it to your parents, and I'm like, okay, let's buy it.
I mean, we kind of just casually we just kind of like look here and there because like every time we go to Sam's Club, they have because
No,
I
don't do that. Don't do those Sam's Club e-bikes, dude. Don't.
here's the funny thing is my first bike is it's from Costco and that was just my
I
first
know. I
bike.
remember the Jetson.
Yeah, the Jetson, and then they
Yeah,
just have like the upgraded version at Sam's,
yeah.
but now they ride electric bikes,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I rode those. Those are fun. I like those ones. Yeah, but all right, I think we covered everything, man. Or at least we covered as much as we could.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was long overdue. I think it dove into more than what we initially were going to do
I think it's a good
the
like.
first time.
I think it was a good first episode to have that's kind of like this style of like a personal interview. I would say,
Yeah, man. It
and
was
then
pretty cool to be on here.
yeah. Do you want to leave any socials, or do you want me to leave those off on this one?
Uh,
We can leave it off if you
nah,
want to.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, yeah, okay. But all right. So all right, tagline now that I can say at the end of this episode. The most unprofessional professional podcast in this space, the Off the Top podcast. I think I like that name or that tagline.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was actually really good.
The
Put that
mo-
up. Yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna probably update that eventually. But anyways, thank you guys for watching or listening to this episode. Thank you, Albert, for being a part of this. Um,
Thank you, man. Nice chatting with you as always.
oh yeah, of course. I don't know how consistent I can get these podcasts going, but I'm gonna have to definitely try to get with my guys on this one. I've yet to tell them what the tagline is on it, but maybe one day give it a listen or so. But
For sure, man.
anyway, but yeah, but you guys can follow me at Zero Requiem 14, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok if it's still alive after this. One way to find out, I guess.
True.
But anyways, that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right, brother.
Take care.
Later.